This is an exclusive session on Stupa architecture. So in this session, we are going to understand the significance of Stupa, we are going to trace the evolution of Stupa, and we are going to understand the salient features of Stupa architecture. So first of all, what do you mean by Stupa? So Stupa is a religious architecture or a religious structure associated with Buddhism. It contains, so usually it contains the relics or remains of Buddha. So it is said that after the Mahaparinirvana of Buddha, his remains like tooth, hair, nails, they were distributed to 9 different sites. And then there is a casket which contains these relics of Buddha, and over this casket, stupa is constructed. So the original 9 stupas are at Kapilavastu, Rajagriha, Vaishali, Alakappa, Ramagrama, Vethapida, Pava, Kushinagar, and Piplavila. Later on, also many stupas were built, but then these stupa structures are symbolic. They do not contain the relics of Buddha. The original ones only, the 9 ones are the one which contains the relics of Buddha. The remaining ones are symbolic in nature. Now, what does it symbolize? So stupa, it's an object of worship in Buddhism. The entire structure, it's very sacred. It's an object of worship. It is a repository of relics or remains of Buddha. It contains the remains of Buddha, and it symbolizes Mahaparinirvana of Buddha. Finally, it also symbolizes Axis Mundi in Buddhism. That is, it is noted as the center of universe. Now, let us try to understand the evolution of stupa architecture in India. So it is broadly divided into 6 phases, beginning with the very first one, the post-Vedic age, that is from 600 BC to 300 BC. Now, this period, it marks the beginning of stupa architecture in India. The initial stupa is the Pipravaha in Uttar Pradesh. It is regarded as the oldest one. And then the 9 stupa, which we saw in the previous slides, the ones which were built after the Mahaparinirvana of Buddha, they also belong to this post-Vedic period. After this, the next phase is Mauryan period, that is 300 BCE to 200 BCE. So as we all know that Ashoka embraced Buddhism after the Battle of Kalinga, and he became a great patron of Buddhism. So he built many stupas, famous one being the Sanchi stupa. Then we have stupa at Takshila, at Sarnath. But when we see the stupas of the initial period, that is the post-Vedic age and the modern period, these stupas are very simple in the design. There is no much ornamentation and all, because in this period, the main branch of Buddhism which flourished was Hinayana. And as we know that in Hinayana, there is no image worship and all. So as such, we do not find the carvings of Buddha and all. And it's just a beginning of the stupa architecture. So the stupas are very simple in designs. Now, when we see the post-modern period, so during this period, stupa architecture gained greater significance. And now we see the stupas being more elaborate, ornamented, larger, with more carvings and engravings and decorative elements. Then we have Gupta age. Now, Gupta age, it depicts the declining trend of stupa architecture, because it was during this period we see the revivalism of Hinduism and focus being on temple architecture. Then post-Gupta period, again the decline continued. But during this period, one remarkable stupa is in Kashmir, patronized by Lalitaditya, and it is at Parihaspura. So this is the remarkable stupa in Kashmir of this period, post-Gupta age. And then when we enter into the early medieval history, early medieval period, during this period, one of the biggest patronizers of Buddhism were Palas. So Palas built many stupas, and they were the last great patrons of Buddhism. Now let us try to understand few important stupas. So we saw the very first one being Pipravaha stupa. It's in Uttar Pradesh. It belongs to the post-Vedic age. Then at Sanchi, there are actually 3 stupas. So one is the Mahastupa, that is the stupa number 1 in Sanchi, that is in Madhya Pradesh. This was built by Ashoka. Then other stupas built by Ashoka were Dharmarajika stupa, it's at Sarnath. Then Dharmarajika stupa, it's in Takshila, and Dhamek stupa, Sarnath. So all these stupas were built by Ashoka. Then at Sanchi, there are 2 more stupas, that is stupa number 2 and stupa number 3. This was built in the post-Mauryan period. Then we have Bharut stupa, again in Madhya Pradesh, and this stupa was patronized under Shungas. Then Under Kaniksha, we had Shahaji Ki Dheri Stupa, it's in Pakistan. Then under Shatavahanas, we had Amravati Stupa. Then under Ishakwakus, Nagarjuna Konda. Then Gudivada, Battiprolu, Ghantisala, Jagayapet, Pedaganjam, Goli, all these are the stupas in Andhra Pradesh. No need to know the patrons and all. Just we need to know that Amravati Stupa under Shatavahanas and Nagarjuna Konda Stupa under Ishakwakus. Then as we saw that Parihaspura, it's in Kashmir, patronized by Lalitaditya. Then Vikram Shila Stupa in Bihar under Palas, and Paharpur, it's in present-day Bangladesh, patronized by Palas. So these are the important stupas which you can quote in your answer of evolution of stupa. Now let us try to understand the features of stupa architecture. Now if you see the broad features of the stupa architecture, now this semicircular dome-like structure, it's called as under. So this is an under. This is a solid element. Okay, so basically we cannot enter into the stupa. It's a solid structure. Then on the top of this, you can find over here there is a balcony-like structure. It's called as harmika. So the balcony-like structure is harmika. Over here there is Chhatri. So it's a sign of royalty. It's a Chhatri. Then you can see over here, there is a railing. So this railing is called as Vedika. So this is a railing which is called as Vedika. Then inside, like in the Andaka passage, there is a Pradakshina Path. And here also in this passage, there is a Pradakshina Path. And this passage is called as Medhi. And there are Toranas. So there are 4 Toranas. Toranas are basically entrances. So 4 Toranas in the 4 directions, north, south, east, west. Okay. So these are the features of the stupa architecture under the semi-spherical structure, solid structure, harmika. Then we have chhatra, we have pradakshina path, circumambulatory path, we had railing, that is Vedika, we have toranas, and this part between railing and the main structure, it's called as Medhi. Yes, and this is like you can see, almost it is identical. This is the Sanchi Stupa. So you can see over here, there is a Torana. This is the semi-spherical dome-like structure, the solid one. There is a Harmika. There are 3 Chhatris. Then we have over here, this is Vedika. Yes, and the passage, okay, here it is the circumambulatory path. Now, what are the different engravings on stupa? Okay, so we find that different decorative elements, that is the engravings, are seen on the Torana, the entrance gate, and on the Vedika, that is the railing. So what all different things can be noted, can be seen on the stupa architecture? So Yaksha and Yakshini. Now, who are these Yakshas and Yakshinis? These are the popular folk deities. So these are the folk deities representing fertility cult, representing wealth. Okay, and their main god is considered to be Kuber. So Kuber is the head of Yaksha and Yakshini, and these are the popular folk deities. Then different events associated with the life of Buddha, like his birth, his renunciation, his enlightenment, Mahaparinirvana, all these are depicted on the stupas. Then depiction of Nagas and Nagis. So this represent the serpent cult in Buddhism. Then scenes of Jataka tanks, that is being depicted. Also, we find depiction of different animals like lion, elephant, horse, and bull. Depiction of different birds like swan, peacock, parrot. Depiction of trees like peepal tree, mango trees. So hence basically we can say that the stupa depicts folk symbols like Yaksha, Yakshini, Naga and Nagis. It also depicts different motifs related to birds, related to animals. It also narrates, that is, it's narrative also, because we find different scenes associated with the life of Buddha being narrated over here. And this also depicts Buddhist ideals. Okay, so in this way, the engravings of stupa on stupa are depiction of folk symbols, motifs, narratives, and the ideals of Buddhism. So you can see over here, like this is a torana, the decorative torana. You can see over here the different flowers being decorated over here, like depicted over here. Then again, these are the engravings on the torana. Beautiful engravings can be seen over here. You can see over here, Yakshini is there, elephant motif is there, peacock motif is there. Yes, so all these engravings are there on stupa. So in this way, we have completed the stupa architecture. We have seen the importance of stupa, we have seen the evolution of stupa, and